Yo, JD here, Limitless, and as you can see, we are back again with a league racing video. This is TSRL round 8 at Silverstone, and you can see from my last race, if you haven't seen that yet, I would very much recommend it. It was probably one of my best league races that I have ever done in my life. It was so intense, and it was just absolutely amazing. So coming into this one, Silverstone, I've got a decent lead in this championship now after that win at Austria. And Silverstone, I think, is no secret. It's a very good track for myself. Probably my favourite track to drive, if not on pace, on the game. Now, there might be a couple of other tracks I'm actually faster at, but in terms of enjoyment, it is definitely this track here. So I was feeling very confident coming into this one. Did my preparation, won the social race round here, which was very good a couple of weeks ago. My PB was a 25.5, but you can see at the moment, my Q1 time wasn't particularly great, and then my first lap in Q2 wasn't great either, and this is another lap that I had to do. Now, ideally I wanted to do just one lap each so I could save some tyres, but we've just run on the grass and we've lost all that time, and I'm currently in P9 in this session because we have only done a 26.2, which for me is really not good around here. In practice I was always doing a 25.8 or a 25.9 as a banker normally most of the time, so this is a quite shocking performance so far in qualifying. Coming across the line, we barely improve, only go P8, and we're in severe danger of being knocked out of this qualifying session, but luckily somehow we made it through, and that just shows how competitive this grid actually is. It really is. And our rivals like Jam Pancakes having quite a good Q2 there, so he's looking quite good for Q3. KJ Gamer didn't have a good session. I think he even got knocked out in that here. And you can see the start of this lap, well, my first lap in Q3, it's a 26.3 again. And we're moving on to the final lap now. This is my last set of tyres, and it is just all or nothing because we have to start in a good position around here. So this is the start of my final lap in qualifying. It's been so poor on all the laps leading up to this, so it's all or nothing now. I haven't even got into the 25, so it's a braking into this third gear just for the extra rotation going into there, and another first gear, extra bite, and get some seriously good traction coming off this corner. And so far this is easily the best I've driven so far in this qualifying session. You can see almost close to 2 tenths up already going through this first sector. It says it's not purple, but we do a 26.9 first sector, which I can tell you is extremely good. Getting a very good run, getting some good traction coming onto here, minimizing the distance of the track. Going for this old turn 1, I have to be committed now as Jakey B has put in a 25.9, first man in the 25s. Pretty decent through there, could have used a little bit more, but it is my last lap. Now going through Maggotts and Beckett's, my favourite sequence of corners on the game itself. Let's try not to run on the grass this time, and I do it absolutely perfect, and that is a purple middle sector. And look how much time we are up on this time, and in the last sector there was a lot of time to find as well. Going into Stowe, we were warned about extending this, so I just about keep it on track. That was probably inch perfect. Going very slow down the gears, trying to hook the curb on the inside. Could have done a little bit more actually, and coming off the last corner, let's see what time this is going to be. It's a 25.7, and out of nowhere we have pulled out a lap that we needed to do. My best lap before that was like a 26.2, and when it came to the crunch time we pulled it out the bag, and that is pole position. And sometimes in a championship you need to be driving like this when it counts, and you can see there that's good as well because there is actually rain scheduled for the end of this race if you didn't catch it there. But yeah, I was struggling so much in that session, and once I gave it just full commitment, which I think is definitely a weakness of mine. If I'm conservative, I'm just not quick, but if I just believe in myself more, then those are the laps I can do. So we've got 4 lights, 5 lights here. Let's try and get a good start. My teammate is in P2. He's had a very good qualifying. Get a little bit of wheel spin, and he gets an absolutely rocket ship start. And yeah, I felt I did okay, but then I just picked up some wheel spin in the later gears. So now we have to defend our position from BMG Hawks, another driver who's been driving very well recently. He tries to go down the inside, actually make a little bit of contact, but so far so good. And honestly, this is really a perfect start to me. You don't really want, on this game, I've said this many times, you really don't actually want to be leading that much in this game. Only leading when it counts, which is when you cross the finish line, because leading, you just use so much fuel and ERS. And all I have to do in this first 3 laps is just stay in the DRS window, and that was pretty much all I was focusing on. So as we start lap 3 of this race, we set the quickest lap of the race, and you can see we haven't really used too much ERS, having to use a little bit just to make sure we're in that DRS zone. But I'm just trying to be as efficient as I possibly can right now. I'm not trying to push, I'm not trying to overtake him or anything at all. And no, at this stage I was feeling incredibly good. But the problem is that Dylan is my teammate, so we are going to have to fight for pit strategy. And with rain scheduled for the end of the race as well, I really need, definitely by the end of the race, to be ahead of him. But coming on to lap 5 now, you can see we've saved 100% ERS, and I say this every video, and a lot of people think I just save too much, but at this stage in the race I don't need to be in the lead because I know his ERS is being depleted quite quickly. If I can stay with him and keep saving this fuel and ERS, it's absolutely perfect for me. There is no reason for me to take the lead right now at all. There is absolutely zero reason. But at this stage I thought the pace wasn't particularly quick, and I could see the guys in 4th place, that train for 4th place, and that could really put our pit stop in jeopardy, because anyone within 3 to 4 seconds, and that's quite a big train, you could get held in the pits quite badly. And since we're in Mercedes, we're the first pit box, there's a very good chance that you're going to get held in the pits. As I can see, my teammate is starting to struggle a little bit now, so I thought, okay, now this is the time for me to kind of take over, like you do in cycling when people slipstream each other, you kind of take in turns. I thought, okay, now we need to up the pace a little bit because I want to just create as big gap as possible to that group behind. So I'm going to put up into Rich and overtake. He defends, but I don't think he's really trying to keep the lead, and we go into the lead now. And I thought, okay, I'm not going to try and break his DRS because DRS is just so powerful in this game. I think you have to be literally 8 tenths quicker a lap than someone to really get out of the DRS zone, or just make a really big mistake to the guy behind. But I thought, okay, let's push it now. Let's try and up the lap time. And you can see we do set the quickest lap of myself. But coming into lap 9, at the end of lap 9, we're hitting the pit window now. We've extended the gap a little bit behind, but you will be able to see I've got a decision to make now. That gap, that group is still within 3 to 4 seconds, I would say. You can see there's a lot of cars there. So I decided that I'm going to continue, and my teammate has gone into the pits, and I thought this was the right decision because I've still got a reasonable amount of ERS and my tyres are in good condition. You can see a lot of people are pitting as well. So I thought there is no way that he is not going to get held. Plus, in the social race, I was actually I didn't really lose. I didn't lose much time on the undercut either. So I was very, very confident that I could probably even gain time on my teammate or not lose any time whatsoever. So we had a pretty good in lap as Viper's continuing because he's on the medium strategy, so he's going to go on softs at the end. But yeah, in the social race, I hardly lost any time, and I thought there was a very good chance that he was going to get held. Hence why I didn't pit then, because I thought if I pitted, I would have got held, he would have overcutted me, and I would have had worse tyres, and I was just really confident on my pace in the in lap. So I thought, no, this is absolutely fine, no problem whatsoever. But as we go down the pit lane, if you look to the left-hand side, you can see my teammate has already gone across the line. We have just gone past the white line. Oh, we're losing the car. And he's got a huge undercut. And I'm actually going to lose a net P2 as well to Hawks. And for me, I don't understand that. I thought I just didn't understand. I didn't exactly want him to get held, but the reason why I didn't pit is because I thought there was a very good chance that I was going to get held in this race. And he has just got an absolutely insane undercut, and my in-lap was really good, like I did in the social race. So yeah, I really didn't understand that, and no, I didn't regret my decision to pit early, because I thought I would be losing out on something like this, where he would have fresher tyres at this stage. So no, we've got a lot of work to do now, and now we're behind the BMG Hawks, and no, I had to really charge up my ERS again. So I spent the next few laps getting to that 100% charge again, because my plan was to then chase my teammate down, because since there's rain scheduled to the end of the race, I'm going to have to be ahead of him if we have to pit, because quite often sometimes the rain takes 3 or 4 laps to really come into effect. I knew that if we did have to pit, I have to be ahead of him. So I was just using these laps to save up my ERS. You can see Hawks is struggling a little bit. I think we've definitely got the pace in him, and at this stage of the race I wasn't panicking whatsoever, as Hawks is going really defensive. I'm not sure why he's going defensive, but it's completely down to him. You can see we're almost literally pushing him through these corners, but coming off this corner here, trying to get as maximum traction as possible, get a very good exit. And I saw this as my opportunity, so we're going to put it up into hot lap, go down the inside into the old turn 1, and this should be a pretty easy move, having to spot the line. We haven't got any warnings or anything whatsoever this race so far as well, and that is now us into P2 in this race. And let's see what the gap is going to be with my teammate, because no, it's a pretty reasonable gap at this stage in the race, and we've only got 12 laps of the race to go. It's about 2.2 seconds of a gap. So at this stage of the race, you might think, no, it's impossible to close down, but I did a lot of race practice for this, and I was really confident of what I could do in the race. And we're going to go on board for my fastest lap in the race. You can see we've gained already a 10th on my teammate, and I think you're going to see the next 3 laps, because this is really a prime example of how I was driving and just how well I was driving. And what I was trying to say before was that I believed that I could catch him. I believed I had the pace over him in the race, and I wasn't panicking whatsoever. I thought, no, if I drive really hard, chase him down, put him under pressure, I will catch him. I was convinced that I would catch him in this race. And you can see maintaining the speed in the first sector here, 2.1 seconds, but going through the Maggers and Beckett's and the rest of this lap and the next couple laps, no, we were driving so well, and no, I felt if I could just catch them 2 or 3 tenths a lap with these fresher tyres as well. I wasn't thinking about the weather at the end of a race at this stage. I was just purely focused on winning this race and just catching him. So I was just completely in the zone at this point here. Still got a little bit of ERS to play with. You can see, caught him 2 tenths in that middle sector. So we are gaining time. But you can see Hawks is hanging on. He's very quick, but the DRS is very powerful. So I'm dragging him along with me as well, which I'm sure he appreciates. We're going into chicane. Yeah, pretty much a perfect lap so far. And coming off this corner, let's see how much time we're going to go again. So coming across the line, the lap time is a 29.3 or 1.8 seconds now. So we have gained 3 tenths this lap. So if we keep on doing this, we will catch him. All we need to do is be within a second as Zelchi. So that's the quickest lap of the race. And I think he's on the option tyre. I think the likes of him and Viper, I think they are on option tyres now. But they are actually quite far behind, and I don't think they're going to have enough time because the tyres will go off at the end of this race. So right now, we're in a very good position, and we've made up another 10th going into this first sector here. And we've still got Hawks closing or hanging on behind me, but he's not really pressuring me. So right now, I was just completely focused on just corner by corner and just needing to catch him. Really needing to catch him because I was just so surprised with that undercut he had. And I know a lot of people were saying, well, you shouldn't be surprised, but no, in the social race there wasn't an undercut. I drove just as good in lap, and I thought he was going to get held. I thought I was going to get held. That was the main reason why I didn't pit. So I was really surprised at that. But you can see we've gained another 10th through this sector, so we're pretty much gaining a 10th per sector here. If that trend continues, then in another 2 laps we should be catching him. So I was feeling really good at this stage. I'm just completely focused, completely dialed in, hitting this curb, which you really do need to do. And then being chased down is definitely not a nice feeling. Momentum is just such an important thing when you're racing and just playing any game in general. As Viper sets the quickest lap of a 28.6, if I can read that right. But I think he is too far behind to really do anything to our races. As long as it stays dry, then I think he's going to be too far behind to do anything at this stage in the race. But yeah, right now I wasn't thinking of the championship or anything. I was just purely thinking about just closing in on my teammate. And yeah, so far we're doing a really, really nice job of it, managing the ERS and fuel quite well. As I said before, a lot of people think that if you put a lot of fuel in, you're going to really suffer lap time, whereas I don't really feel that's the case. I feel it only really affects temps. So having that reserve of fuel and saving that ERS and fuel in the first stint. Now, if I hadn't done that, then it would have been very, very difficult to close down, because I think Dylan is an absolutely rapid driver in this game. Let's get this straight. Now, the times we're doing here is ridiculously competitive as well. It's really, really quick. You can see gained about a tenth or so on this lap, so it's starting to level out ever so slightly a little bit, but the momentum is still in my favour, and we're approaching 8 laps to go, or 7 laps to go in this race. So coming across here, let's see what the gap is going to be coming across the line, and just being able to visually see that I'm getting closer and closer. We're driving with so much commitment right now, and the gap is 1.3 seconds, so it's only another 3 attempts to go. But skipping on to the end of lap 19, the gap is now still staying at 1.3 seconds. Skipping on to the end of lap 20, the gap is going to be 1.2, so the gap is coming down very, very slowly. It is coming down, but it is not coming down quick enough at this stage. I think he just knows that he needs to stay in the DRS. I think he's probably going to be taking quite a lot of risks here. Coming across the line, the gap is 1 second, almost exactly 1 second, and you can see the clouds are starting to get darker and darker. Rain is imminent at this stage, and I think you'll be able to hear Jeff on my radio that he's going to tell me that rain is going to be coming soon. Trying to get that rotation through here, but we haven't got DRS. It was crucial that we got DRS through here, but we didn't. We weren't close enough to get the DRS. So moving on to the end of Maggots and Beckett's, coming off this corner here, you can see about 1 second again, and you'll be able to look at the screen. The rain is going to be starting to fall here, which I think you can just see it come through now. I think, yeah, you can see it now. The rain is falling, and I thought, you know what, this is no problem at all, as we do lock up. But normally rain, I think even in a social race I did, or another race I did recently, sometimes it takes 3 to 4 laps to really come into effect. So I was confident that we wouldn't need to be pitting for inters, but the grip out of nowhere has just completely changed in a space of 2 or 3 seconds. The grip has just changed, and this is quite rare in this game. Normally it takes 2 or 3 laps, but 2 or 3 corners, and we have no grip at all, and we couldn't pit the lap before because it just wasn't wet enough. And now it's going to be the case where we have to pit. We have to pit, and I've got my teammate ahead of me. And if you haven't experienced it, double stacking, which I think I had to do at Canada, you're losing a lot of time because the pit crew just takes so long. You're losing an easy over 10 seconds by doing a pit stack, and this is a disaster for me. Absolute disaster. Unless I can get him before the end of the lap, or if he was really, really generous, which I'm not expecting him to do. I can see I'm getting a little bit frustrated here, and you probably will hear some words of frustration because in the moment it was I worked my ass off to catch him up, and if it would have been dry, I thought we could have had a really good chance. But now it's all about if he pits or not, and I think he'd be crazy not to pit. As you can see, he goes in so deep. I was hoping to overtake him, but it's not going to be the case. So he goes into the pits, and I do not follow him, and I could see my chat completely blowing up saying, why did you not follow him? And I can tell you lose so much time if you go double stack. You lose so much time. So I thought, no, I'm going to lose this race if I follow him. There's going to be no chance of even getting a podium. So I'm going to continue and just see if it is possible to go to the end of the race, because that is my other option I was thinking about. But going through here, we are just so slow. we are just so slow, and it's amazing how quickly the track has just changed here. It's unbelievable how quickly the track has actually changed. I'm going through this one, and I've got a decision to make now. Do I stay out or do I pit next lap? And it's impossible to judge, because a lot of people saying you should have stayed out or you should stay out, but the thing is, the risk of a mistake or locking up or just destroying a car is very high in these conditions. Although it looks easy, the way I'm driving now, I can tell you now it's not easy. It's very difficult with no assist, and I just simply felt that the track was just too slow. It was too slow. Although the pit lane is very long, I think I'm going to be losing about 20 seconds or so potentially in lap time. You know, we've got another lap and a half of this race to go. Almost, 2 laps. We've got 2 laps still to go in this race. You know, I'm going to be losing easily 15 seconds minimum per lap. There's no way. There is no way this is going to the end. And I thought, now if I go to the end, I'm just going to run the risk of getting 0 points. I need to get some points for this championship. I have to get some points. And this was devastating to me, because this would have been it's so devastating. But coming into the pits here, we try and make up as much time as possible, but we just make a clumsy mistake. That is just me being greedy, to be honest. That's just me being greedy to just gain as much time as possible, when in reality I probably would have lost maybe a few tenths. But that was just a very stupid move to overspeed into the pits here, and that has given me a 5-second penalty on top. And yeah, that was just very clumsy. Was not necessary whatsoever. But you can see my teammate has now come past me here, and no, I felt this was the right decision, because if I double stacked, I would have been so much further behind in this. I would have been 10 plus seconds behind my teammate here, and if I double stacked, I would have lost so much more time. So I do feel this was the right decision in the circumstances, because if I continued, I think, you can see the grip, how much more grip we've got already. If I would have continued, it would have been potentially 0 points. I think there was a very good chance it would have been absolutely 0 points in this race, and that would have been absolutely devastating. And we come out in P7 now, which is, now after the pace we showed, we got the pole position, the pace we showed, and the way we caught our teammate back up again. It was hard, man. It was a very tough ending to the race, and that is the brutality of league racing. It can go so well, and then in a split second it can just go completely opposite. And you can see obviously gonna be frustrated. Come home in P5 though, which is something at least. Even though we had that 5-second penalty, I think without that 5-second penalty we would have come home in P4. So, but in those circumstances, I really feel there was nothing else I could do, and it was just such a shame that the rain came to effect so quickly. But yeah, honestly, looking back at that, I feel I would have got held if I pitted earlier. That's what I felt. So I felt I made the right decision at the time for me. I don't really regret making those decisions, but that is just league racing in a nutshell. And unfortunately, that's the way the cookie crumbles at times, really. But the one positive I can take is that I have still actually increased my championship lead, because KJ Gaber did not have a good race there, and I actually still beat him. So out of all this, I've still increased my championship lead, which is a positive. And the other positive as well is that I am just driving so well since Austria at this point. I have no complaints of the speed and consistency that I'm driving at, but man, it felt like there could have just been so many more points in that race. But as I said, it is what it is, and you just have to suck it up and move on to the next race. Thank you so much for the support on my videos. I really hope you enjoyed this one, and I will catch you very soon. Peace.